Okay, this one is on the Pyle PLCM7500 backup camera. It's just kind of the way I put it in, how I put it in. The thing does not have good instructions, so maybe this will help if you're trying to put one of these silly things in. It actually is a pretty good camera, but I'll just go over the things I did to get it to work. Okay, this is a back license plate mount. This is going to go up here like this. Obviously, there's all kinds of crazy things you have to do to get through there. I'm going to put a stress reliever right up there, and then I'm going to seal that stress reliever with a silicone sealer. Okay, here we're showing, I've connected this here. Now this is the power source that what it does is it tells the camera when to come on. I think it actually powers the camera too. So it tells it when to start. This one here is a communication to the front of the vehicle on the display. Okay, here I've connected the communication between the camera and the display up front. This wire here, I'm kind of thinking it's a chassis ground, but I have no real idea. I'm not going to hook it up at this point. I'm going to go ahead and hook this power lead here to the backup lights so that it comes on when I turn the backup lights on or when I'm in reverse. Okay, when putting these connections together, they will pull apart if something pulls on them. So one of the things I like to do is I put shrink tube on them. And I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, you can see I put shrink tube on this one. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it down, and you'll see what it does. Here you can see the wonders of shrink tube. It'll make the connection stay together even if it gets pulled on. There you can see both of them are done. They're not going to pull apart. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is you can see here we have wiring going down there. That's from the license plate lights. And I'm going to strap my wiring here right to here and follow it down. Okay, here you can see I've run this along here. I put cable ties down into it, down to here, down over to here. And this lead here is going to go to the backup light. Now here we're looking for the reversing light. Okay, I've got a red and a black. Virtually every time red is positive, black is negative. So we're going to hook up to that red. And that means this wire here, I've got a red and a black there. That red is going to hook up to that red there. Red on red, black on black. Okay, here we are, red on red, black on black, into the plug. And we're going to go ahead and put the plug back in. Now what that's going to do is it's going to power the camera. Okay, the next thing we'll do is we'll take this wire here and we'll run it up front. And now we're going to take that communicating wire that communicates to the display, and we're going to run it under the seats and the carpets and that sort of thing and get it up so we can connect it to the display module. Okay, here's a close-up on the back camera. Now when I hooked this thing up, the camera was pushing skyward somewhere, and I'm trying to shim things around like a dummy. I finally figured out there's two set screws right here, and you can rotate this camera. So another tip from a dummy that couldn't figure it out. Nothing, of course, in the install manual, but You can adjust that back and forth so to get it so that it's not too high or not too low. Okay, here we've got it mounted. The only problem I had is I really didn't want to put screws in the dash, but I finally decided if it was ever going to work properly, it was going to have to be screwed to the dash. And I couldn't really bury the wire. You can see it there going to the steering column. That's about the best I could come up with. Here the screen's on. I'm not in reverse, so it's not hooked up. I'm in reverse. The lines are fairly good. They're a little confusing at first because of the perspective. Okay, so as an overall, it's a pretty good product so far. Hasn't failed yet. The wiring diagram is the dumbest frickin' thing in the world, but it really is about that simple. There's a couple extra wires in there that I think are for chassis ground, but I'm not going to put them on unless I start getting interference, and so far I really haven't had any interference with it. Mostly after hooking up what was in the trunk, it was just a question of hiding all the wires and getting them hooked up inside, which is nothing, there's nothing huge about it. It's pretty simple. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I've ordered an extra camera for this thing, because this actually has 2 connections for cameras. So you can use both. And I would like to have one. This car has a pretty terrible blind spot. I'm going to set this up with a blind spot camera. And let's see how that works. So stay tuned, I guess. Anyway, the job was probably about 3 or 4 hour job, being real careful, trying to make sure my wires were not showing anywhere that I could avoid them being shown. The wiring diagram looks really stupid and doesn't have much to it, but there really isn't a whole lot to this thing. They could have been a little more explanatory on some things, but they didn't, and the product does seem to work pretty good. It's an overcast day today, but it shows up pretty well on that. I'll have to try it in a bright day and see what it does in a bright day. It isn't up to the highest bright that it can be. So anyway, that's the Pyle backup camera, and I will be doing one for a blind spot here pretty soon.